in your hometown. It's Talk of the Town. I'm Bruce Newbury with author T. Stevens and his very, very first book, Dante's Cypher. T, before we get back to it here, we should probably just explain what a cipher is.
Okay, a cipher, verbally, it's a riddle within a statement. A cipher is something, but also it's something that needs to be solved. It's a riddle that needs to be solved.
Yes.
What I didn't know, if you look at the book cover there, when I started writing the book, I was going to name this Dante's Rings.
Dante's Rings.
And I didn't like it, so I renamed it Cypher. Anyways, the Dante's Cypher, you had to solve it. Well, that ring is what it's based on.
Gotcha.
The definition, one of the definitions of cipher, is an oval. I didn't know that until I started doing the research.
I didn't know that either.
I was astonished.
Wow.
So it kind of, it just locked it all in.
Man.
I'm on the right path. So that's how we came up with Dante's Cypher.
It's really, really cosmic. That's amazing. Now, you're all about perseverance. We talked a little bit about what you did before you wrote the book and so forth. And perseverance has really come back to you, and people want to hear about your perseverance, including some places that you've been. Now, you've been invited back to school to talk about, you know, how you kind of ground it out day to day there. Tell me about that.
Milford Middle School, you gotta get me choked up because I'm very complimented by it. Milford Middle School invites me to speak to their students, and it's I find it very fulfilling. I just speak to them about your life is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to guide your life where you want it to go. Don't sit and be a passenger in your life. Drive your life forward. So I'd like to talk to students about that, but the prep school I went to up in Maine, Bridgeton, Maine. Bridgeton Academy,
sure.
Bridgeton, Maine, for those that are listening. They've invited me back to speak to the students also a couple times at Career Day, and also how to handle challenges. And again, I was very complimented. It's for those that know me that are rolling their eyes right now, they'll realize, they'll agree with you. I was a long shot on a lot of aspects of life. I was a long shot, but I did learn it from my parents that you have your word and you have your family, and you've got to stick by both of them. And if I'm going to give my word to something, I've got to persevere and see it through. Mm-hmm. And based on that, also a couple of these things, we was actually invited to be a guest lecturer, guest reader at the University of Connecticut, my alma mater.
Kind of within a class.
Yes, class, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the creative writing classes.
That's interesting.
I'm floored.
Yeah.
It's my alma mater, and it's I was really figuring out who I was back in the day then, and it did. I'm just very complimented by that. It's so we'll go.
Well, let's go back to Bridgeton for a minute, into the middle school. Now, which Milford was this? Because there's Milfords in every
Milford,
state.
New Hampshire.
Milford, New Hampshire.
Yes.
Okay. So you're there at the Milford Middle School in Milford, New Hampshire, and then you're at Bridgeton Academy, and you're talking to the kids. Are the kids different from you when you were that age?
Yes, they're a lot more responsible these days. When I was that age, I was a loose cannon. I was a loose cannon. You're talking to a guy who broke his arm and his leg a half an hour apart, okay?
Yikes.
So I was kind of that mindset, not exactly focused. Not that I'm still a work in progress, but it's a complete work in progress. But I know I'm getting through the kids or the students when they ask me my opinion. It's not me just talking to them. I don't want to just blab at them and put them to sleep in their chairs. I want to know what's going on inside their heads and see, hey, how can we move this thing forward?
Sure.
And I'll know I'm being impactful when after the presentation of the talk, whatever you want to call it, there's a line of students that want to talk afterwards.
Nice.
And that, if I can reach one, and maybe prevent them from having to go through some of the mistakes I made, that makes it all worth it.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. It's an interesting thing because we all kind of want that. On the other hand, if you hadn't made the mistakes you made,
I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have taken that path. I wouldn't be here right
So
now. Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So, what are some of the things that they ask you?
They'll ask, well, what made you want to write a book? What made you? Did you wake up knowing you wanted to be an author? The book came to me. It was a gift to me. It's the only way I can describe it. When I say I woke up with it, my mind created this thing while I was asleep at the wheel and wouldn't let me be. You know, it had to be expressed. It was within me and it had to come out. And as you can see, I have no problem with the gift of gab.
You'll be all right as soon as you get over the shyness.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of an introvert. Again, something you can thank my parents for. But it was within me, and it came very naturally to me in terms of writing the book. Now, it wasn't the smooth product we have now. This is the culmination of about 100 people helping me. Wow. Helping me refine it, helping me see things I'm not seeing, helping me not be so short-sighted, helping me, craft the word better. They just did, and it's I know there's people listening who've helped me do that, and I appreciate it, and thank you very much so. But the kids will ask, so where'd it come from? And I just say, it was in me. And one of the things I didn't want to do was edit myself. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't write a book, I can't do this,
Right.
I can't write that song, I can't play that. Don't stop yourself. Make yourself unstoppable. Invictus. Are you familiar with the poem Invictus?
Sure.
I am the captain of my fate, I'm the master of my soul.
Yes.
I mean, that's it. Invictus means unconquerable. Don't conquer yourself.
Yeah.
Don't ever allow to be conquered. If there's something in your mind to do, do it. Try it. Do not be afraid of failure. Failure's got to happen, then you learn. You learn what to do next time. And that was the process of the book, but I don't want the kids to hold off from anything. So when they said, well, did you wake up being an author? No, but I had a story I wanted to write. I had a story I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
I didn't prevent myself from doing it because I'd never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote articles for magazines and newspapers and stuff, like little ones, nothing big.
Mm-hmm.
And it was within me. So I didn't stop myself. Oh, I can't do it. I didn't give myself excuses or reasons why I couldn't. I figured out a way to get it done. And if that's the impact that this book brings to kids that are listening, or students that are listening, or anybody listening, then the book was well worth it.
I'm interested to find out, you've talked a little bit about the characters and their names and so on. When you formed a character,
Mm-hmm.
did you have this character's life worked out, or did it unfold as you wrote?
I hate to say this to you both.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would start with a character, and as I delve into the story more, I'd see, does that match with where that character would go?
Yeah.
Or is this character one-dimensional and they're in for a spell and then they're back on the bench? So if I would get into a character and okay, this makes sense, I'd go with the character a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Sergeant Erdoti, State Sergeant Erdoti. He was going to be a very minor role, and he took on a very major role.
Is that right?
Yeah, throughout the story. He
He
developed.
took on a life of his own.
He took on a life of his own. I hear a
So
lot of comments
interesting.
about Sergeant Erdoti in the feedback I'm getting.
Yeah.
A lot of people like him. He's a polarizing
Mhm.
character,
Mhm.
and he was a
But
real
he's
good
not the
fighter.
primary character.
No,
of
he's
the book.
not.
Tell
But-
us about the primary character.
There's a couple of primary characters, but through the perspective of Steve.
Steve.
Steve's the primary character, and the trials and travails of what he's trying to do to accomplish this task he needs to get done. And if you read the back cover, it's a malevolent Cypher must be solved in order to free the love of his life from an unknown menace whose origins date back to the darkest chapters of the church's history. That's what Steve has to face.
Yeah.
And it's I'll say Steve lives in Invictus.
Yeah.
All right, he won't be dissuaded. He faces some challenges, some what considered to be monumental or catastrophic at times, but if he faces them, he deals with them.
All right. If you want to find out about Steve, you gotta read Dante's Cypher
Yes.
by T. Stevens, and it's out right now. It's in paperback. It is a Tate Publishing book, and you're going to be around and at some bookstores. We'll see you in the near future.
Yes,
Tell us.
It's available on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon right now, and it's available hard copy and electronically. But I must say, I'm an author member of the New England Independent Booksellers Association.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of independent booksellers. It's the brick and mortar. These guys are fighting to survive, and they need our support. The Toadstool Bookstore in my hometown in New Hampshire was the first to take on books for me, and to sell them. Actually, so when one sold to a stranger, I was shocked.
Yeah.
And it's I'm a big fan of independent bookstores. We need them. Let's support them. And I've actually done a reading and a signing at Toadstool.
Toadstool.
Yeah, we've got another one coming up at the library. Actually, going to my alma mater as we were talking, University of Connecticut, to be the guest presenter in a class.
Terrific.
And it's ongoing, but I just want to mention that they supported me, and I want to support them.
And we always talk about the independent bookstores, and we're big fans as well. And terrific. We're a fan of you now, T. So
Thank you.
thanks for spending some time with us. Best of luck with this first book, and first of many, we hope. Dante Cypher, T. Stevens, Tate Publishing, and look for it at your independent bookstore, and those other places too.
Bruce, thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure. It's Talk of the Town on a Monday from WADK.